Okay, we're on. I'm just going to be sharing the stream a few different places, so give me a minute and I'll
Okay.
also let people have an opportunity to jump on.
Awesome.
Let's see here. Facebook is so clunky. Let's see if it'll let me share today.
All right.
Share public. So you're actually on vacation, huh?
Well, my father passed away last week, so not
Oh,
really a vacation up
I'm
here.
so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. We're happy for him. You know, he was a great man. I'm gonna miss him dearly. We're all gonna miss him dearly, but he had a really bad genetic disease that he was trapped in his body for the last 20 years. So I'm excited he's free. We're all excited that he's free, and because he was a special soul.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we are gonna miss him dearly. That's for sure. Selfishly.
Yeah, that's always a difficult thing to, it's conflicting. You want the best
Yeah.
for people, but then at the same time, you want to be around the people you love.
Yeah, for sure. So it was nice. 2 weeks ago, or I think it was 2 weeks ago, I came up here for 7, 8 days with my kids, and we just hung out at the house the whole time with him and my mom. And so I feel good about that. So
yeah. Okay. Well, let me get going here. I've seen people jump on. Let me monitor the chat.
I think 2 weeks ago, I came up here for 7, 8 days with my kids.
Oops. Hold on. Okay, here we go. All right, everybody, welcome. Happy Monday and happy new month of August as we head toward closer to past the middle point. And I was on this morning on Facebook Live. If you caught my Facebook Live early this morning, I was talking a lot about just about the importance of setting some goals, even if it's just one goal for the next 60 days. So if you guys missed it, you can feel free to check out my story. But right now, as you know, this is the 61st episode of Wisdom Club Live, and I'm on here and I'm super excited to have a great mentor and coach in the health and wellness space. Him and I had spent some time over the 6 months period last year of him coaching all the different aspects of health, nutrition, and fitness. And we delve deep into everything. So I've gotten to know him very well. His name is Brad Davidson. And I've been, could not wait to have him on just because he's such a great person with so much knowledge. And I think the way he thinks about how we should live our life in a healthy, happy, joyous, stressless way is the way that I would love to model, my life. And I just want to go over a couple of things that I learned in those 6 months, and I do want to, get him to talk more personally about him and introduce himself. But in those 6 months, I learned the importance of stress management. So I've been doing my daily walks, which is when I'm at the halfway point, I get on Facebook Live, I say something inspirational, which you guys have all seen. And that's a result of, some of the teachings that Brad has taught me. A nutrition plan. He had kind of break down my activity levels, my active lifestyle, and had given me a meal plan for a daily meal plan that includes all the necessary nutrition. And so the thing that I learned the most about that was that we need the right fuels for the right time. And so when I get up in the morning, I need to make sure I fuel my energy. And then later in the day before the sun goes down, I have a meal for recovery. And so just that just at least those two things that really helped me and made me the person I am today, to be able to be, working at a high functioning, high performance level. And then hydration, hydration, hydration. I've taken his word about hydration. I couldn't really use all the tips, which different people have different tips that works for them. And for me, I just keep a whole gallon of water right next to me when I do my yoga in the morning before I go on my walk. And I usually finish about half a gallon of it to start my morning, so that I'm very well hydrated. If I don't drink too much during the day because I'm busy and stuff like that, at least I already had my half gallon a day of water. And that usually lasts, quite a while before I start feeling thirsty, maybe middle of the day. But I still drink. It isn't just a binge thing. And then last thing is, if you guys have noticed me talking about it, the Oura Ring. I've gotten it about, finally, about almost 2 months now. And so been tracking how I'm sleeping and just kind of seeing how things are progressing with me, what kinds of things can I do to get better sleep. So, I mean, those are just some highlights. There's so much more that I learned from him. And I want to also go into some of the stuff that he's teaching now, since I left off the coaching program. One last thing is I wanted to say before he can get started is that he was recently featured on one of my business coach, Shran Srivatsa's podcast. It's called Business School, and he talks about the health secrets of pro athletes and Navy SEALs. So I've got the link here in the description in the notes here. Click on it whenever you guys get a chance. I mean, it's one of the best podcasts that I've heard in a long, long time. So definitely check that out. But without further ado, Brad, welcome, and welcome to the podcast. And I really, really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to be on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Leo. I'm excited to chat with you. This will be fun.
Yeah. So for those of people out there that don't know, has never come in contact with you or know about you, can you kind of give them an overall about, I guess, just your history, your general life, and kind of how you ended up where you are, and what kinds of impactful things that you've been doing, at least in the last, more recent 3 to 5 years, what you've been working on, so people get a good idea of, your wealth of work.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I started off in 1996 as a personal trainer in Portland, Oregon. And then eventually moved down to Southern California, because that's the dream. If you're in the fitness world, especially in the 90s, no one really cared about fitness up in Oregon. And so I went down to Southern California to pursue the dream, my dream. Became a personal trainer down there, eventually opened up my own gym. And over time, I began to work with a lot of high performing professionals, athletes, law enforcement, special forces. And over time, it kind of morphed into more than just the training. And I got to a point where I was working with all these high performing people, especially the athletes. And it became 2008, 2009, that awesome economy when everything just tanked. I owned a gym, and that's one of the first things to go is all the luxury stuff when people start running out of money. And so I figured I got to stand out. So I decided in my mid 30s, I was going to make a run at an Olympic team. And I chose bobsledding, and it was great. I made the team. I'm the old guy. My nickname was Grant because I was 10 years older than everyone else on the team. And I was the guy that had a job back home. But over 11-month period, it was amazing. I put on 52 pounds lean muscle mass. I got to the point where I was running a 4.440 at a 42-inch vertical jump, which are just stellar numbers from an athletic standpoint. But the interesting thing was, on the outside, my body looked incredible. I took all the advice that we're given in nutrition and training. Like, for example, I really believe the person who trained the most, who was the most fit, was the healthiest. And the person who ate the best would also be the healthiest and the highest performing athlete. And back then it was no carbs. Carbs are bad. It was all paleo diet back then. And there's still a lot of play on that carbs are the problem. Well, after 11 months of training like this and eating like this, I got to the point where one morning I woke up to a baby girl, and all of a sudden, 90 miles an hour, 10 cans, kind of a dumb idea. People die doing it. And we're not making any money. No one on the bobsled team makes any money. And so you're doing it out of passion and that kind of stuff. And it was great until that morning. I thought, you know what? I'm done. I'm not doing this. I'm not putting my life at risk. I got too much at stake now. And so I retired. But I thought, what a great dad I am. No dad bod here, right? Like, I looked good on the outside. I mean, I had like an 8-pack. It was incredible how I looked. And I thought at that point, that meant I was super healthy. Fast forward 2 weeks from that day, and I could no longer get out of bed. I couldn't function. And I just wanted to stay in a dark room the whole time. I had no drive for anything. I started having all these health issues. So I went to my doctor and I had him run some labs. And he's like, man, look at you. You look incredibly healthy. And I think I'm just recovering from my bobsledding. But some weird things are going on. Like hair was falling out of my face. I couldn't explain that. So he ran some labs and he called me 2 days later. He's like, we got a problem. You're type 2 diabetic, you're in extreme hypothyroidism, and you're an andropause. I was like, what is andropause? Well, it's male menopause. You're 33 years old, you're in the prime shape of your life, and you're in male menopause. I'm like, what in the world? Like, how can this be? Like, I did everything we tell you to. And he's like, I don't know, you did. I guess you just have bad genetics. So here's all your drugs. And I'm taking blood sugar meds, thyroid meds, and testosterone injections just to live a normal life. And I walked out of his office and I had this feeling, I'm like, wow, I am closer to death than I am to optimal living, but boy, I look good. Like, I didn't know what to do with it. Like, everything we tell you to do, like, if the outside looks incredible, you're supposed to be super healthy. And I had done that and it backfired. And I remember asking him, like, well, what about my face? Like, this was the key thing for me. I was like, what about my face? Like, this looks really bad. He said, well, it's interesting. There's no drug for that. It's an autoimmune disease from too much stress. You just need to stress less. And I remember telling him, but doc, you don't understand. I handle stress really well. I thrive on stress. Like, stress drives me. He's like, yeah, well, your body's not liking it. So you got to figure that out. And so that started my journey of looking at things dramatically different. Because I used to think it was all about the grit and the grind. Like, if you just grit and grind harder than anyone else, you're going to be the most successful. And a lot of us are told that. A lot of us believe that. And on the outside, it worked really well for me. But all of a sudden, here I am in a complete health crisis and no one knows what to do with me. And so over 6 years, I figured it out. And I'm so glad that I went through it, because it led me to the reality that it's not about the grit and the grind. It's all about rest and recovery. That too lasts the longest. And the reality is, as high stress, high achieving people, we got a fatigue issue, not a lack of exercise issue. And what's interesting is who's paying the price for that is the people you love the most. We exhaust ourselves at the gym. We exhaust ourselves trying to sacrifice our bodies to look better. And then we work all day and we get home at night, and the people we love the most, they're getting all the leftovers. And so I wanted to change that. And so through my journey, I found it's all about rest and recovery. But nobody is teaching how to manage that, how to monitor that, how to even build a lifestyle around that. It's all about just go. And what happens, I see it all the time, is people will just go until they collapse. And a lot of times people end up in the hospital with viral infections and stuff from so much stress. And so my system has been all about beating that. I wrote a book called The Stark Naked 21-Day Metabolic Reset. I actually sold my gym because I realized, exercise is the least important factor. Then I started traveling all over the US and Canada speaking on the topic. And I began to just consult with some of the highest achievers on the face of the earth. Yeah, professional athletes, special forces, a couple Navy SEALs. I worked with 4 billionaires. I actually worked with a man who owns all the banking in Dubai. It was incredible, the people I've got to work with. And across the board, continually, what I see is that fatigue is the issue. Everybody wants, what's the new workout program that's going to get me to look great? What's the new diet out that's going to get me to look great? I'm like, it's none of them. First off, how's your sleep? That's why I love that you have the Aura ring, because it tells you right then and there, how's your sleep? And you'll see dramatically how sleep impacts your recovery and your energy and your performance. And it's just the key that I like to focus on. So that's what I've been really focused on for the last 3 to 5 years is how do you build a lifestyle around your job, your stress levels, and how you like to live. If you want to exercise 6 days a week, that's awesome, but you got to have a great plan in place to recover from that. If you hate exercise, that's awesome. I'm not going to force you to do it. You got to have a plan built in place to deal with that. And so that's just what I do now is I teach people how to build a plan around their lifestyle, their stress, and how they like to live life to make sure the best of them shows up every single day. And we're building a body that will last. That's the thing that I'm getting tired of watching is people wiping themselves out, trying to pursue the dream because no one's teaching them how to recover well.
Yeah, I mean, there's one of the problems with our society is there's so many of these myths, right? A myth that we should look this way, we should do this way, like we should strive for this, we should strive for that, but without being in tune and checking in with how we're feeling and how we're supposed to function, because it can't be right if you're not feeling good, but then you look good, like you were saying, right? Yeah. And I think so many people like overlook that. And I always thought like, oh, you know, if I only had a six-pack, just like every other guy out there, right? And but what is the sacrifice? The sacrifice is our mental health, is our physical health, sometimes our nutritional health, because maybe in order for you to do that, you needed to like do all kinds of protein powders of whatever different kinds that may not agree with your body, and we continue to just on this onslaught,
Yeah.
fight with our body just to look good. And it's not really worth it in terms of health wise. And I love what you said about, as part of your journey is that when you had kids, then all of a sudden, like, oh my God, I got this wake up call, like, hey, I can't just live for myself anymore. And if I'm not available, if I'm not feeling good, then what's the point? What's the point of all this? And especially you want your child to have, the best life possible, as, we all do. But if you're destroying yourself, you can't expect your child to be living the greatest life ever, right? Because they're going to model off of you. And so, so I love that about, your journey. And also, you were performing at such a, high level, right? And I can't even imagine, like, when you got the diagnosis and I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. But so many of us, I think, are in this kind of illusion, if you will, of like how we're supposed to be. And which is one of the reasons why, I really wanted to know how I'm feeling, because no two bodies are alike, right?
Yeah.
No two bodies do the same things when you, give it the same type of, nutrition. I know that for me, I've learned recently, as I'm getting older, that I can't just go to sleep whenever I want. My body likes to go to bed earlier than later, meaning, 8 or 9 o'clock or so, and that's early for so many people. And then I like to be awake at 4:30 or 5. I know that, hey, for most of my life, I've been able to sleep whenever I wanted, but now my body punishes me. If I get up at 6, then my body says, hey, something's not right here. And then I feel sluggish the rest of the day. I don't know exactly why that is, but I know that that's my clock.
Yeah. That's simple. It's called, that is called chronotype. We all have a chronotype. Some of us are early birds, some of us are night owls. If you are messing with that and you're not paying attention to that, you may not be getting the most optimal sleep. Like you can still be getting 8 hours, but if you're going to bed late in the night and waking up late in the morning, because you're off your chronotype, you're not getting the recovery you need. Your body's not doing well on that. That's really cool. You've experienced that and you see that. There's actually a great book called It's All in the Chronotype. It talks about the different types. He compares them to animals like the wolf, the bear, the dolphin. It's a really interesting book, and you can actually test to find what your chronotype is.
Well, believe me, I've done enough testing on my own. Like, what if I woke up at 4? What if I woke up at 5? What if I woke up at 6? What if I woke up at 7? And like that sweet spot is like between that 4:30 and 5. And there's like, awesome. It's amazing, because when I honor that, okay, the rest of my day is like magic, right? And when I'm just like a half hour, 45 minutes off, the rest of the day is like, oh, everything takes like, it's like I'm carrying an extra 10 pounds that I'm, of dumbbells around while I'm doing everything else. So it's super amazing. But yeah, you guys, I think it's one of your goals in life is to help people perform at the highest level possible, whether they're, an athlete, whether they're an entrepreneur, whether they're whatever the profession is. CEOs. You recently were also coaching. Was it Miss America or?
Yes, I did that for a few years. Miss California,
Miss California. I think that's super interesting. Could you touch on like what the program was like that for them?
Yeah, I should have coached Miss America that year, but she saw Donald Trump and said, "Hey Donnie," he was her favorite. She said, "Hey Donnie." He got pissed and she got knocked out the first round.
Oh my God.
This was a few years back, but she should have been Miss America. I was so upset. That's a very different setup, because there's a specific look they're looking for, kind of long, lean, and feminine. They don't want them too muscular. They don't want them too skinny. So that was an interesting combination of development for them. So we did a combination of, more of the strength training, but lighter weights, higher rep ranges, shorter rest periods, to try to bring body fat down, but not build too much muscle tissue. And then a lot of long, slow cardio to make sure, because that's a great way to blunt muscle development, is do a lot of long cardio after you train. And in that world, we were manipulating carbs a little bit as well. Because, if you don't eat enough carbs, you can get really flat. You eat too many carbs, you can get a little more muscular development. So it was kind of a sweet spot with each of those women to make sure that they kind of had that lean, toned, feminine look, and not too muscular, not too skinny. It's super finicky what they're looking for.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of wanted you to kind of at least touch a little bit on that, because like it's like every woman's dream, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, I want to be fit, I want to be healthy, but then I want to be, you know, this shape, you know.
Yeah, and if you look at the pageants, like they all kind of have the same build. It's a specific look they're going for. It was really interesting. I haven't done it for a few years, but it was I did it for 4 years in a row, working with Miss America, Miss California, Miss Teen California. And it was an interesting, anytime you work with every profession you work with, it's very interesting what's needed, especially in a world like sports. There's like specific variables that have to be met for that man or woman to have a chance in whatever that arena is they're competing in.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So any of you guys out there who want to win some beauty contest, contact Brad, he'll set you up. Because I was super, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, oh, because I hadn't known that before. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's great. You know, like, you know, because, I mean, that's what's so mind-blowing to me about the coverage of the subject matter that you work on. You know, it's like every different kind of men and women, whatever profession they're in, whatever they're looking for. So if you don't mind, can you go over your general philosophies, you know, on, I mean, we already touched on stress, you know, general philosophies on nutrition and general philosophies on exercise.
Yeah, you know, you said something earlier that really resonated with me. You said, I honor my body with this. I think that is such a key point for success, is that people don't view this stuff as I'm honoring my body. Oftentimes, like for me, I'll just use my specific example. I was doing all these crazy things, in all honesty, out of insecurity. I just believed if I looked a certain way, I got to a certain muscle mass or a certain body fat percentage, or I made this Olympic team, that I would somehow get to this point where I was accepted. And I didn't like myself because I was insecure. I didn't think I was enough. And so I was punishing myself to try to get to a point where I would be accepted and loved and valued, but I was not honoring myself. So now that I honor myself, things are very different. Sorry. I now honor myself. So hang on one second.
The dog is honoring himself too.
Yeah, the dog is protecting the house.
That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, so that, I think that's super critical. Is I teach people that it's all about honoring the self. And in reality, to honor the self, we're all individuals, we're all very different. And so what each person needs to honor themselves is very different. So we have to look at things, okay, what's the stress like? We've got to manage that. We touched on that. Number two, what's a person's metabolism like? The way we live our life damages the metabolism. Stress damages the metabolism. So we have to go in and find, where is the metabolism damaged and how is it damaged? For example, the four most common areas are the adrenal glands, like the stress pathways get abused. And once those start not working well, the body doesn't look good, it doesn't feel good, it doesn't perform good. Blood sugar can get out of whack. We all know about that. If blood sugar gets too far out of whack, you become a diabetic. Gut health can get off. Liver congestion can hamper the system. So I call them metabolic limiters. We have to go in and find, what is each person's metabolic limiter. We have to clear that pathway to honor the body. If there's a metabolic limiter, you can't do anything to change the body until you fix the problem. It's like your car. You have 4 blown tires and it's not working very well. And how we choose to do it is, in the gym industry, is we go soup up the engine, hoping the car will work better. When in reality, all you got to do is change the tires and the car's going to work great. But nobody wants to go fix the problem. They just want to soup it all up. Well, you always have to look at the system and find, where is it broken or where is it not working well, and fix that. And then number 3, you have to look at, okay, personal preference. What does the person want, right? How do they like to eat? Do they want to try intermittent fasting or keto diet? Preference matters. What is their goal? How are they trying to train? Or what's the objective in their life that we have to then work around as well? So you got to take all these things into play, and you have to build a personal plan for yourself to honor your system, your metabolism, to get the results you're looking for. You can't just go in. I'm sorry. I wish this was the case. Maybe in our early 20s, this works. You can just go hammer on the body, starve the body, and it's going to change and look a certain way, and you can still go out and perform well. But eventually that fatigue catches up, the brain gets sluggish and offline. And at that point, it just doesn't matter what you do until you fix the problem and then create a system that honors how you want to live. You're never going to get the result you want. You're never going to feel great. You're never going to perform great. You're never going to reach the pinnacle of your success you're looking for unless you build a body that can last. It's super important.
Yeah, I love that analogy with the car and tires, because like I get this image in my mind, like, okay, the tires are flat and everything. You're trying to hit the gas and the wheels, are like chugging along, like, clunky. And then in the meantime, you go like, what's wrong with this car? And you go out there and you just keep putting more gas in it. It's overflowing the gas tank. Like, that's the image in my mind. And with so many of us are doing that, right? Like, I don't feel good. I don't want to exercise, so I'll just keep eating. Right?
Yeah.
I'll just keep eating. Like, well, what's wrong? Like, why don't I feel good? And why am I gaining weight? And instead of tackling that, the actual problem, we just tend to do what's easier. It's easier to eat.
For sure.
It's easier to just pump gas instead of changing the tires. It's easier to just step on the gas, right?
And it's really interesting because the metabolism is just a stress barometer. So if how you are living your life or how you're like honoring your body is not working, your metabolism is telling you. We call it schmeck. I learned this from Dr. Jay Tita. If your schmeck is out of check, how you're honoring your body is not working. So that's your sleep, your hunger, your mood, your energy, and your cravings. Those are the 5 signs that'll tell you if the way you're honoring your body is working or not. If you're not sleeping well, that's a problem. If you're hungry all the time, that's a problem. If you're moody and irritable and grumpy, that's a big problem. If no one wants to be around you, I don't care how good you look. If no one wants to be around you, your schmeck is out of check. You're going to lose this battle. If your energy's off or you're having weird cravings, especially at night, those are all signs that I don't care what you're doing, it's not working. The flip side, if those are all in check, I don't care what you're doing, it's working, don't change. That's another big thing is people think, oh, I feel great, but I heard this new diet, maybe the answer for me. It's like, no, don't change. Like, stay on your path. You found the system that works for you. I don't care what all the other science is saying, because here's the thing is that most science is new and irrelevant or poorly done. So don't switch just because someone has told you science says this is the best way. I'm going to tell you right now, science is clueless when it comes to things like nutrition. The only thing it's not clueless on that it gets and it's been able to replicate thousands and thousands of times is our sleep. So if you really care about science, you will sleep 8 hours a night. Like that is like just, there's no way around that. It is super clear. Sleep, it's 7 to 9 hours a night. It's like this, the thing that is needed according to science to feel great, look great, and perform at your best.
Yeah, aside from the hydration that I mentioned earlier, sleep was one of the other things I wanted to target, for myself, which is why I mentioned earlier about like experimenting, like when I go to sleep and stuff like that. And it was very clear. I had one night where I had to work on a presentation where I had to present it the next day at 8 o'clock. And I was up until like 1 o'clock. And man, I sucked at that presentation. I sucked ass, And so definitely, don't do that. But I was just about to ask you about schmeck, because that was one of the things we talked a lot about, in our coaching sessions. And so I think it's something that's part of the honoring yourself. Like if you follow that formula, these are the essential things. And so what I've adopted, over the last couple of years, and even more so, working with you, was that I always take care of myself first. So one of the reasons that, I'm luckily, my chronological clock, or whatever you called it earlier, allow me to wake up early. So between 5 and 8, my phone doesn't ring. I keep it as silent. I do my yoga. I go on my walk. I do meditation. I do my reading, or whatever it is that to take care of myself. And once that time is up, 8 o'clock, I start work. Phones start ringing. I start going on my appointments and things like that. No matter what happens the rest of the day after 8 o'clock, like I'm good. Like I'm taken care of. And so I never have a bad day anymore, as long as I took care of myself in the morning. Now, if there were days for whatever reason, like that day on the presentation, I didn't, well, the rest of the day was kind of pretty much shot, but it's such an easy formula, and once I got into the habit of doing that, then my body rewards me, my mind rewards me, and that strict 3 hours. And even for those people who have kids, I know that may not be the exact schedule, but something to take care of yourself where you block everything out, and then you can really take care of everybody else.
I love that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the metabolic breakthrough that you're working on.
Oh,
Tell us about it. I know it's been an exciting project that you're you're looking to launch and you're working on it. So great time to kind of go over it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to talk about it. Yeah, so when the pandemic hit, my working world kind of crumbled. Right, I couldn't meet with people in person, so all my personal clients I was having, I could no longer meet with them. My speaking engagements all got wiped out. I had 12 speaking engagements get wiped out. So I had to kind of take that virtually. But what I recognized was my system is needed more now than ever. There's so much uncertainty, which drives so much stress. Our lifestyles are completely changed. We're stuck at home. People don't know what to do. They're afraid to go out. Like it's crazy right now. This is the time that honoring ourselves needs to be more important than ever, because we got to have a strong immune system. We got to maintain our energy. We got to make sure that we're still recovering well so we can perform well and figure out this nightmare we're in. I mean, like, gosh, I know in your industry, the real estate market's off the chart, busier than ever right now. Like, you have to be able to manage that stress, recover from that stress to keep your immune system strong. So I went back to the drawing boards, and I've always worked very high end, which I still have my high end programs, but I wanted to create a program for anybody that wanted access to this stuff could grab. And so it's a program that's a monthly program where you get a nutrition plan built off what your metabolism needs from me. I teach you how to implement it. And every month I'm sending you the top 3 supplements your metabolism needs to, 1, clear the limiter you're dealing with, and then 2, to make sure you're staying in a peak performance state and recovering well. And so the system just monitors your body every month and adjusts the nutrition, adjusts the supplementation. It'll give you recommendations on recovery as well to keep you in a recovered state so your energy stays optimal, your immune system stays strong, and your ability to engage, to fully engage this day and age is still there. I think that's the greatest gift I can give people in this time period, is to keep a metabolism in a state where you can fully engage, because it's critical right now, more than any other time in my lifetime, to be able to be fully engaged and present to deal with everything we're dealing with.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm learning as well. The metabolic state that you're in, it could regulate how we be able to synthesize, our food and energy and nutrition to be able to output, whatever we need to do on a daily basis, right? And so I think it's just important. Like whenever I'm getting ready to eat something, I always think about how well my body is going to absorb and receive, the nutrition and fuel my body to be able to do certain things. If I need fiber to be able to stabilize my gut biome system, or if I need energy, let's say, banana or something like that, because, it needs the potassium and things like that to be able to synthesize that. And a lot of times if our metabolic state is not stable, it's hard to absorb that things into our body. Am I kind of on the right track there?
You're totally on the right track. One of the things that stress disrupts and can wipe out is your gut health. If someone's metabolic limiter is their gut health, nothing else matters, because if your gut health is wiped out, you can't break down and assimilate the food you're eating and convert it to energy. Everybody's like always wants to fight, like, oh, it's all about calories in versus calories out. I'm like, no, it's not, because you don't even know how many calories that person's assimilating. Like their gut health may be ruined. I went through a very big bout of stress over the last couple of years. And one of the things that happened to me was I wiped out the digestive enzymes needed to digest carbohydrates. So it was interesting that I was eating more carbohydrates than ever, because I was always just craving them. But my blood glucose levels were like dangerously low every time I went to the doctor. I'm like, I don't get it. Like I'm eating carbs like crazy, and my glucose levels are like in the 60s. Like, what is wrong? He ran some deeper testing. He's like, oh, you're lacking the enzyme that is needed to break down and absorb those carbohydrates. So they basically are coming in and going right out. You're getting nothing from them. He's like, no wonder you can't put weight on. No wonder you're losing weight. No wonder you feel horrible all the time. Your digestion is off. So I had to take a bunch of digestive enzymes and rebuild my gut health. So yeah, if stress is impacting your gut health like it was mine at that point, and that's not a typical scenario for me. Typically, it's my liver that gets beat up with stress. But at that point, it was my gut health. That's why I think you need to monitor it every month to make sure that you catch these things, because the body will give off symptoms if you're paying attention. I was stressed. I wasn't paying attention. I stopped seeing my coach at that point. Sometimes we make the biggest, worst choices when we're a lot of stress. The people we should stay seeing, we make a reason why we can't go. And so I just stopped going for a while. And I got my training coach, I got my nutrition coach, I got my functional medicine doctor managing everything. And I just kind of stopped seeing them because I was overly stressed out. And it was a big mistake. So yeah, you're exactly right. If gut health is off, I don't care what you're eating. I don't care how much you're eating. It's doing nothing for you.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So like it's so interesting because you can take two people with two different, you know, microbiomes in their gut, and one person could eat very little and like function perfectly and be super healthy. And the other person, when your microbiome is not working well, then they can't absorb anything, and then like they're malnutrition,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. And people experience all this all the time. They go on a really healthy diet or they follow all the rules and nothing changes. If you're on a good plan and you're following all the rules and your body's not changing or getting worse, that's a sign that there's some type of metabolic limiter that's holding you back from getting the results you deserve. You're not going to beat that. You just got to go in and fix it. And a very common one is gut health. Very common. Actually, most of naturopathic doctors, the first thing they look at is gut health, because they know if the gut health is off, nothing else matters. If someone's gut health is bad enough, I'm going to refer them to a naturopathic doctor to assess that and fix that. Because I know that if it's bad enough, I don't care how you exercise, I don't care what you do, you're getting nowhere fast.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's just another really super important topic that you're delving into to help people. So I'm super excited that you're doing that and getting it out there for those people. I've got your links and your website on there. So for those of you who are watching out there, just click on those links. If you have any questions or want to know when that program is going to come out, be available to you, just, you know, shoot Brad a quick message and I'm sure he'll get you on it. Brad, if you don't mind, I am still a bit clueless on all my data on the Oura Ring. So I thought if we could just take a couple of minutes and I'll be vulnerable here to show, you know, some of my data. So they got this, you know, cloud browser-based tracking data. I guess it shows more than the actual phone app as well. So let me share my screen and we'll just see, like, this is totally unplanned, you know. I don't know what I'm gonna see. You might tell me like I'm doing horrible, but let's just give it a whirl. Let's see here. All right. Let me know if you see my screen.
I got it, yep.
All right, and let me navigate. So this is the dashboard here.
Okay.
And I don't know how familiar with you are with the everything that they provide here, but you can help me tell me where to navigate as well.
Yeah. Okay. So if you see on the top, readiness, it says 85. Ideally, we want to be 80. When you're 80 or higher, it's a sign that you can handle a lot of stress that day. So that would be like, for example, a day that I would tell people, okay, if it's 80 or higher, go exercise hard.
Okay.
If it's 60 to 80, I would tell you to back off on your exercise a little bit. And if it's below 60, that's a day it's dangerous to go exercise. It's a day you need to focus all on recovery. Okay. So that's the first one to look at. Sleep, 76. If you look down below the 76, you'll see like the total, the REM, the deep, the efficiency, the restfulness, the latency. This breaks down your sleep cycle. So I like you're over 7 hours of sleep. I like that. You get a lot of good REM sleep. Your deep sleep is off a little bit. So that's something we would need to strategize around to try to improve that. I have found using CBD oil to be a good thing before bed to drive better deep sleep, and also tart cherry juice, because it's a natural melatonin producer, can help improve that deep sleep. We'd like to see that at least over an hour is what we like to see. Restfulness.
Sorry, I'll chime in here real quick. Consistently, I've been having trouble with the deep sleep. I have probably maybe 1 out of 7 days, like, so once a week, maybe I'll get an hour. And on that day, like, I feel amazing. And so I'm not sure what's causing, you know, my deep sleep to not be as long as I wanted. I do definitely know that stress is playing into some of it. And I've never had, I do have the CBD oil and I usually take it in the morning. So maybe I'll take it in the evening and kind of give myself time to kind of wind down. I think that may be part of the problem.
Yeah, I found the CBD oil and the tart cherry juice to be a really nice combo to improve deep sleep on the clients I've worked with that use the Oura Ring. So I would give that a go for a couple of days and see if it improves the score. There's another guy that I've been working with you should have on as guest. He's a mindset breathing coach that I've been working with. He works with a lot of my athletes. I just had him speak to a bunch of my football players. He's
Awesome.
taught me, he's my coach on this because I'm learning that how we breathe impacts our stress cycles more than anything. So he's working with me on all these strategies on how to breathe in the mornings to charge my body, how to breathe at night to calm it down, how to improve things like CO2 tolerance to keep stress under control. He's super interesting. His name's Ryan Dombach. He's recently given me some breathing strategies before bed, personal to me through a test he gave me that I've been doing that's been helping my deep sleep as well. Because that's the area I struggle with as well. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'll give you his contact so you can talk with him. I think you'd love to talk to him because he's fascinating. And restfulness, I believe restfulness is how much time you spent awake during the night. Yeah, so you can see you had a few periods between 1 and 3 a.m. when you're waking up a bit. So that's good. Resting heart rate is good. Majority of the night, you're under 60 with your lowest point being 59. I'm sorry, you're kind of in the 60s and your lowest point being under 60. We want to see that. We want to see resting heart rate being under 60 at the low point. Okay.
Okay.
So that's good. Another thing we want to see is that happening a little earlier in the night if possible. So something's going to throw that off is that a heavy meal before bed can cause the resting heart rate to hit a lower point later. I believe the CBD at night and the tart cherry juice will help you a lot in your sleep cycle.
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent. I'm seeing a pattern here of being above 70 when I go to bed, and then slowly come down. And this is pretty typical of my lowest being somewhere around between 4 and 5 or something like that. I'm not exactly
my
sure
thought
why.
process is that the periods of time where you're waking in the middle of the night is probably from a stress response. That's why I like the CBD and the tart cherry juice to help that. If that doesn't fix it, we can just give you a little liver support in that window, and I think that will really help.
Okay.
But I start with the CBD and the tart cherry juice because you have the CBD and the tart cherry juice is really easy to pick up, and that should help. But let me know if it doesn't, and I'll give you another tweak. When it comes to fixing sleep, it's trial and error. You kind of see the windows where someone struggles, and you make changes according to that. So that would be my recommendation there.
Okay, I think one of the big things for me, I mean, those things would definitely help, but I think it's a stress related thing where I'm not shutting down my my brain and stuff like that as I go to sleep. So I probably need some additional prep before I go to sleep to give myself wind down time. I don't think I give myself
what I've seen with my CEOs, they struggle with that, right? Their brain's always going. I'll have them write down the 3 most important things they have to do the next day in 60 seconds, and then 3 to 5 things they're thankful for. It takes like 2 minutes. That really helps slow the brain down before bed.
Okay, definitely.
Another thing that I learned from Tim Ferriss was just play Tetris for 10 minutes before you go to sleep.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, those patterning games will calm the brain down. He actually showed some studies that showed if you witness a traumatic event and you play Tetris within like an hour or two of the event, that you're much less likely to create PTSD from the event. The brain can't replay it. It's so hard to remember that in the moment after a traumatic event, but I've seen it work. But just doing it for 10 minutes before bed slows the brain down for a number of hours, so it's not as active. So there's some cool tools there I've learned on how to slow the brain down.
Awesome. So Tetris is actually good for something.
Yeah, but it's got to be 10 minutes. It can become very addictive. You play it too long, it could be a problem.
I clicked on trends here, and I think...
Yeah, do me a favor. Click on... click on readiness for me. I want to look at...
How about score?
Yeah, I want to look at average HRV.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing I definitely wanted to see. Why is it not showing up? Let's see. That's because... Hold on a second. Why is mine not selecting the dates here? Daily, monthly.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Now I go week. That's daily. There we go.
Okay.
So this is July, and I guess I can stretch it. So this is from when I started.
Perfect.
The ring. So it's about 2 months worth.
Okay, yeah. So it looks like your average HRV is about 39. Wait.
No.
No, that's deep sleep. That's deep sleep.
Oh, this is deep sleep. So let's do...
Yeah, do readiness. Click on readiness in the middle. On the top. Yep. Average HRV.
Okay.
So average HRV is 21. So from what I'm finding on the Oura Ring, so heart rate variability is kind of how resilient you are to stress. The higher the HRV, the more resilient to stress you are. The better you recover, basically. The less of an issue you have with stress, the less damaging stress is to you. So you're at 21. On the Oura Ring, I like to see that be closer to 40, which
Wow.
it takes time for that to trend up. And the reason why that's lower, what will really push that up for you is to get more deep sleep. Because deep sleep is where physical recovery happens. REM sleep is where like, the cognitive recovery happens.
Mm-hmm.
So the deep sleep, if you start improving that, you'll start seeing your HRV like trending up over time. It takes a while to trend up over time. So that'll help it. And a little bit more of an aerobic conditioning strategy in your plan would help build that up a little bit as well.
So there's really, I noticed that it only measures HRV when you go to sleep. There's really no point in measuring that during the day, right?
No, I mean, it's always there. Like they have 24-hour HRV monitoring systems. This is just giving us your average HRV at night while you sleep.
Okay.
And typically it'll give us like every day you'll get your average and your highest HRV of the night each day.
Right. I definitely wanted to work on my my HRV.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of been like this, and so that would be one of my targets is to get it up there. But you can see I'm capable of getting up here to 33 here. So yeah.
What's interesting when you look at it is a lot of times when you have see how that one's like really high compared to normal.
Mm-hmm.
That is typically a day you feel like garbage. That would be a big lethargy day, would be my guess.
Oh yeah.
Because when it goes really high out of range, you go into what's called the parasympathetic dominant state, and your body's trying to force recovery, and you feel very lethargic. And that would be a good day. So I'll tell you this: when you get a readiness that drops and your HRV is higher than normal, that's a really good day to take like a cold shower to get into a stimulated state to help balance you out.
So if I had let's say I did a full day hike and I did a lot of exercise, then my HRV could go up because it's really recovering, or no?
It could be that. It could be you had a lot of just like mental emotional stress, right? Like you could have gotten a big argument with someone you love, or a client, or a big deal could have dropped out. Like typically an HRV spike will go up when the body's been under a large amount of stress and it can't take it anymore, and it's forcing recovery.
Okay, so it's just a bounce.
Yeah, it's basically saying we're done. You're taking some time out. The problem is that the typical response to that is that's the day I go work harder, right? Because we're told like the day you wake up and you're tired, you don't want to do anything, is the day you should go twice as hard because that's the day you beat your competition and then you go back to bed. Worst advice ever. The person who goes back to bed wins long term.
Okay. Was there something else that we should look at?
Those are the good ones. Click on readiness. Yeah, I think that's the important one with the readiness. If you look at hit on readiness score. Yeah, so your average readiness is about 8. That's actually pretty good for what you're dealing with. So you get that deep sleep in check, add a little more condition, like cardio, like lower level cardio conditioning, and you're gonna see your readiness bump even higher.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But
so that's good.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, you see in the beginning when I first got the ring, it's just the learning part of it, or this is actual data?
Yeah, it's picking up a trend.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes about a week to pick up a consistent, because then all of a sudden it's pretty consistent.
Right.
Okay. So, and you can see, it looks like you're under some pretty good stress, like July 11th through the 15th, because you're kind of up and down.
Oh yeah, I think I had about 3 or 4 escrows, on the teeter of like getting done, and everybody's freaking out, and you're trying to solve problems, and so.
Yeah. I never understood why real estate agents are under so much stress until I became a client of one, and I just remember one day I looked at them like, now I know why you guys are under so much stress. It's because of people like me.
Well, it's just amazing because there's just so many pieces to this whole escrow puzzle, and it all got to come together right every single time. And then you have people who are like kind of get in the way or throwing a wrench in there or whatever, and then we gotta keep the peace and get it all done. And
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So I think it's
And
very
keep us from making
undervalued.
stupid mistakes or stupid
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah, like you said, like you don't know until like you're like actually in it, or somebody tells you that this stuff is happening. And so
Yeah.
we'll always try to keep as much communication as possible, so I wouldn't feel like from the beginning to be like a lot of communication. And then
Yeah.
when we're in escrow, I don't feel bad about telling them some details. They're like used to it. They're used to getting daily, you know,
Yeah.
information, and like, you know, so that they know, because they really don't have any idea like how this actually happens. You know,
Yeah.
they think it's
It's
like buying
crazy.
shoes.
Yeah. Oh
You know,
man, so crazy.
find your size, take it to the counter, you know.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sign the check and it's done.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that Oura ring is amazing. It kicks out so much data. Like it's overwhelming amounts of data, but it's really good.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was measuring my respiratory rate, you
Yeah.
know, which is interesting. And then one of the things is that's really beneficial, you know, due to the pandemic, is because it measures your temperature, your body temperature.
Yep.
So if you
They're
got
doing a
sick,
study right now, I think, with one of the San Francisco universities on can they predict COVID.
yeah, because if you start to see your temperature go up, then you might be getting sick, and then you
Yeah.
know, so you can see that happening.
Yeah.
Luckily, I haven't had that yet. I've been pretty lucky the last few years. I haven't had any. I used to get you know, like a flu or some kind of cold once or twice a year. I haven't had it in
Yeah.
3 years. You
That's
know,
awesome.
and so I think I'm definitely, you know, onto all the right stuff that my body needs. And
Yeah.
so super happy
Well,
about it.
it's a strong immune system comes from a healthy metabolism. Like and the people that they're mostly at risk for these things are people that have metabolic dysfunction. Like the message should be get super healthy, like take great care of yourself, do small amounts of exercise, like do all the things that build the immune system, generate more of those those fighter T cells that go in and kill these things. But the message is all just stay inside, don't do anything. Hi, vitamin D is one of the best protectors they're showing, so we should be outside getting sun. And just the healthier we are, the less likely we are to have adverse reactions to this thing, and the more likely we are to stay healthy against it.
Yeah,
It's like any other viruses out there.
yeah, definitely. I think about like in the old days, like, you know, in the 50s and stuff like that, where we had, you know, government organizations tell you what the health, you know, baseline you should, you know, things that you should do to keep yourself healthy. Now, it wasn't always right, you know, it was kind of earlier on, and they tell you that, you know, get this nutritional triangle and stuff like that with your meats, and everybody's
Yeah,
seen that, right? It wasn't necessarily right, but at least everybody kind of agreed, right? At
yeah,
least everybody has some sort of baseline, like, okay, you should always have your, you know, protein, vegetables, and your carbs, protein, vegetable, carbs. I wish we could, you know, create a new baseline that everybody can agree that is really helpful to you, because
yeah,
we have lack of baselines. We have lack
yeah,
of like what should be done. So these things that we're talking about today, and I'm so glad to have you on to talk about it, because I think everybody should do this, right? These like should be
yeah,
like standard. The standard
yeah,
that you need to sleep this much, standard that you do the schmeck, you know, standard that you should, you know, keep, like everybody should be, instead of giving you like a $600 check, you know, for the pandemic, everybody buy you an Oura ring, right? So you know, right? Like,
yeah,
like
yeah,
that. It's an Oura ring. You know, I think it's just under $300, I think.
yeah,
And so like that would go a long way to your health, like monitoring, you know, how you're doing, staying on
yeah,
exercise. Like this thing reminds me, like, hey, you're sitting too long. You know, it's time for some exercise. Hey, you know, you know, this is how much activity you had today. This is how much more you should do for the day. This is
yeah,
how much sleep you got. Like, take that money and go invest it, you know, in yourself.
yeah. Especially in our health, because that is, it's so valuable.
Yeah, because
The
that's
the
what
better your health, the better you show up in the world, the more creative you are, the better you handle stress. It's another big one. Is people get stressed and all of a sudden they get emotional and make poor decisions. And anything we can do to buffer their stress response in our physiology is so powerful, especially when there's so much uncertainty in the world.
right. And so I wanted just to kind of start capping this off by saying, and I've been saying it for some of these live interviews I've been doing, is that we always start out kind of a running joke. You know, it took a pandemic to dot, 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 right? It took a pandemic for you to lose some weight. It took a pandemic for you to eat healthier. It took a pandemic for you to spend more time with your family, right?
Yeah.
It took a pandemic, to realize how important your community is, your grocery stores, and the health workers, the people that like people like you who were helping people stay healthy and weren't able to operate as normal. I know some other business owners who run gyms, same kind of thing, like they had to shut down. Fortunately, now they're doing a little bit more, like the ones that can, they do outdoor workouts and still continue to provide that service. But again, it took a pandemic, right? So, so those of you out there who are watching, like, finish that sentence for yourself. It took a pandemic for you to do what? Something positive, right? Yeah. And I think we can turn something negative that's really, just gave us a wake-up call to the things that we should have been doing all along, right?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
And I want to end with this, and I also want to get a quote from Brad, as we usually do on the show, is that when we are healthy, we have 1,000 wishes, but when we are sick, we only have one wish.
Very true.
I mean, think about that. When you're sick, like, all you want is for this thing to go away so you can go back to your normal life. People who have broken their legs or become crippled for whatever reason, some sort of accident or something like that, like, all that they wish is that they would be able to walk again, be able to ride a bike, be able to do the normal things. And so when we take our health for granted, our bodies tell us. And so one of Brad's work in life is to help everybody out there. And so if you guys have any challenges out there, please reach out to Brad with anything that you might need help with. And I'll definitely keep you guys up to date with all these programs that he is starting. And then, so as per tradition, Brad is going to share with us a quote. Take it away.
So this kind of comes from, so I recently lost my father, and he had a genetic disease where he could, like, for the last 20 years, he really couldn't use his body. And I used to ask him, like, what do you miss most? He's like, it's simple. I miss being able to get on the ground and play with my grandkids. I miss being able to fully engage with my grandkids. So my quote is more of a question, and I ask people, are the people you love most getting the best of you or the rest of you when you have time with them? They deserve the best of you. And the only way they get the best of you and you living life fully engaged with them is to learn how to take better care of yourself, to have the energy to get through your day and to get home with them and be fully present and engaged. So it's a simple question, like all my clients to ask themselves periodically: are the people I love most getting the best of me or the rest of me?
Yeah, that's so profound. I think those of you out there who have kids know that that's all that your kids want for you. That's all that they want. They just want you to be well so that they can be with you, be with you, the person that the full, real you, and not the stressed you, not the sick you, not the tired you, all that stuff. They just want to see you happy and see you, doing well, because then they'll be able to, be that way themselves too. So it's a great example for your friends and family and your kids. So thank you, Brad.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Leo. It was good chatting with you.
Yeah. So thank you all for watching. That's it for us. I hope you guys all have a happy Monday and a great start to August. And we will be back with more amazing guests. And this is the Wisdom Club Live with Leo, and we inspired unlimited possibilities. So we'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.